2 of the Kozy Cures Beginner Sewing Series. In this episode, I will be going over how to set up your sewing machine. First, I'll go over the anatomy of the sewing machine. Then, I will go over how to install your presser foot, how to install your needle, how to wind and load your bobbin, and how to thread your machine. Let's begin. Okay, so beginning with the top of the machine, we have the spool pin. Now, these can be vertical or horizontal. Mine is vertical. And basically, this will feed the upper thread into the machine through the thread guide, which is here. Next, we have the bobbin winder. So we're going to insert our bobbin here, and we're going to move it over to the bobbin winder stopper, which prevents the bobbin from overfilling when we take the thread of our choosing and fill up our bobbin. Next, we have the tension control, which is located here, which controls how tight the upper thread is. For this project, you're probably going to want it about a 4 or 5 tension. That way the tension is balanced and helps both the upper and bottom thread lock neatly into the middle of the fabric. I have my reverse button. Some machines, it's a reverse lever. However, this button or lever, depending on which you have, basically makes the machine sew backwards. So it's used to backstitch and secure the beginning and end of your seams, which we'll get into more on the 4th episode. Here you'll notice I have my stitch selectors. I have 59 different stitch options. However, in reality, I only use 2 of these typically, which would be the straight stitch and the zigzag stitch. Here I can control my stitch length and my stitch width. Typically, your straight stitch length for general sewing is going to be about 2.0 to 2.5 millimeters. I keep mine at 2.5 millimeters. Here we have the needle, which carries the thread through the fabric. The presser foot, which keeps the fabric stable when stitching by holding it against the feed dogs, which are here and here. Next we have the presser foot lever, which is right here, and that raises and lowers the presser foot. This part here is called the needle plate, and that supports the fabric and has seam guidelines so you know where your seam allowance should be. And the seam allowance is basically the area of fabric between the edge of the material and the stitching line, and I'll show you all of that in the 4th episode, how to calculate your seam allowance and how to stitch it. Now, I have a top drop-in bobbin, not a front-loading bobbin, which some machines do have, and basically your bobbin, which we thread at the top of the machine, will go in there, and it provides the bottom thread that interlocks with the upper thread. Here is an automatic needle threader. You can use this, however, I typically just manually thread my needle. And here is a closer look at that needle plate, the feed dogs, the seam allowance lines, and the inside of your bobbin case. Now the last part of the machine we're going to go over is the side of the machine. So here you have your hand wheel, and that raises and lowers the needle manually, and when you turn it, you're always going to want to turn it towards yourself for most machines. Here we have the power switch and the power cord, and right here you attach your foot pedal, which controls the sewing speed of your machine. And the foot pedal looks like this. To install your needle, you will need your 80-12 needle, and you will need whatever your machine came with as a screwdriver to tighten the needle in. You want the flat side of the needle facing the back of the machine, so you want the rounded side of the needle facing you. You will insert it into this little channel right up here, and you want to push that all the way up until it hits a small pin up there. And then you will tighten it in, and you want it to be snug. Now with your needle installed, you can put on your presser foot. And what you'll notice here is on your all-purpose presser foot, there's a little bar right in the middle there. You're going to line that bar up with this plastic piece where there's a little channel, and all you're going to do is drop your presser foot lever into that channel, onto that bar, and then your presser foot is installed. To wind your bobbin, you're going to pull up your thread spool, you're going to place your thread on top of that thread spool, and the same thing as when you're threading the machine, you want the thread running over the top of the thread spool. You're going to bring it over to your thread guide, put it in there. Wrap it from the front to the back on the bobbin tension disc. Make sure it slides all the way underneath. You will grab your bobbin case. Now there is a small hole on both sides of your bobbin. Get the top of your bobbin, put it through that small hole, pull it up, and then you're going to go back down just through the middle part of the bobbin. You will place it on your bobbin holder here, and then you will push it over to where your bobbin stopper is. You will need your foot pedal plugged in for this, as when you press your foot pedal, that's what's going to start wrapping your bobbin. So start pressing on your foot pedal very slowly. Now there are two important things to note. One, if your thread is not going all the way to the top, if it's just filling up 3/4 of it and there's a little gap at the top, you can use a pair of scissors and just tap it up and it'll stay up there a couple extra times. Also, your thread stopper is going to automatically stop your bobbin from overfilling, so just keep going until it stops. And now the bobbin is full. You can cut your thread, slide this back over, pop it out. Now on your case, you'll notice this extra piece of thread hanging up, which is where we put that thread through at the first part. You can just cut that off. And then you have a completely full bobbin. To load your bobbin into your machine, you're going to slide off this case lid. You're going to take your bobbin that you wound, and you're going to pop it in there, and you're going to want to unwinding counterclockwise. There's a small metal latch right here. You want to make sure that that bobbin thread gets snagged onto there. You're going to pull it over here around to the cutter. Cut that off. Then you're going to slide the lid back on. Next, I will show you how to thread your machine. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure your presser foot lever is up and your needle is also all the way up, and you can do that by using the hand wheel. Next, you're going to want to pull up your spool pin. Place your thread on that, and when it unwinds, you want it to unwind from the front of the spool. Place it through your thread guide, and that'll have the number 1 on it, and depending on the machine, you will have numbers throughout your machine to show you exactly where to go with your thread. So we're going to go down through the 2 and up again through 3 to the 4, and for the 4th one you have to go down again. Now you want to make sure that your thread caught onto the uptake lever that is in there, and you should be able to see that. Now we took the thread down through this part, and we're going to put it through the second thread guide on your machine, and it's right above the needle, and it has a little slit in it. You're going to want to slide your thread into there, and at this point you can manually thread your needle and just slip the thread through the eye of the needle. Now that you have manually put the thread through the eye of the needle, it should be facing the back left of your machine. You should pull it forward under your presser foot and back to the back of the machine, back left of the machine. Now the top of your machine is fully loaded with your thread. To get the bobbin thread to the top of your machine, you will need the top of your machine threaded, and you'll want that thread fairly long and pulled to the back left of your machine. You will then turn your hand wheel towards yourself. You will wait till it comes all the way up. You can grab a pair of scissors to help with this, but you're going to grab the top end of your thread. You're going to grab the other side of your top thread, and you're going to pull it out. And that will pull your bobbin thread to the top, and then you can just pull that out. And now you have both your bobbin thread and your top thread at the top of your machine, and you're ready to begin sewing.